This meeting of the Home Rule Charter Commission is being called to order. Mrs. DuPlessis, would you lead us in a invocation? Everybody rise.
Dear God, be with us tonight. Let your presence be felt. Guide us and give us wisdom, and help us come to good decisions to bring forth fruitful bounty as we embark on our mission. Help us to conduct ourselves in likeness of your most precious Son, Jesus Christ. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Pochet, would you lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Suzanne, would you have a roll call, please?
Ms. Carrie Cazzo. Present. Mr. Michael LeBlanc.
Present.
Mr. Charles Shivers.
Present.
Mr. Milton Pulott Jr.
Present.
Mr. Kenneth Leary Jr.
Present.
Mr. Mark Stewart.
Present.
Greg DuPlessis.
Present.
Robert Pochet.
Present.
Ms. Diane Ayo.
Present.
And Ms. Mary Shaw is absent.
Thank you. We have public comment sign in now, please. Sign is closed. Do we approval of minutes of the last two meetings, the meeting of June the 25th and July the 16th? Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? And
I so move.
I second it.
been motion and second that the minutes of the meeting for June the 25th and July the 16th was approved. I'd like to talk a little bit now in...
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Do we have a all favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? It passed. Motion passed. Thank you, Mr. Pochet. I'd like to talk a few minutes in relation to the number of meetings we have a month. The previous commission had 2 a month, and after going over the information that was given to me by that commission and reviewing what we have to do, I'm going to make a suggestion that we go from 1 meeting a month to 2 meetings a month, and we coordinate that with Ms. Suzanne. The floor is now open.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to try to stay on Wednesday nights.
What we're going to do is the first meeting will stay as scheduled. The second meeting we have to talk to Ms. Suzanne about it as to when the meeting room is available. And Ms. Suzanne, do you have any input on that?
Wednesday, upon reviewing the calendar for every month, I mean, we have so many standing meetings as it is. Wednesday seems to be the best day, which is why we scheduled your first meeting on Wednesday. If you would choose to have the meeting on the 3rd, the 4th Wednesday of the month, that's an open date also.
Okay.
So,
And that would put us back to back.
Whoa, let's be reckoned.
yes, I think it is. I think it is. The second Wednesday is planning and zoning.
That was like first and third instead of first and fourth.
Yes. Could be the first and third.
Mr. DuPlessis?
That was my point. If we do first and fourth, we're more than likely to be meeting 1 week apart on most months.
So first and third seems to be the consensus of this board.
I make a motion to that effect that we have meetings on the first and the third Wednesday of each month, if the calendar permits.
I second.
Motion has been made that we have a second meeting on the third Wednesday of the month. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Motion passed. The second part would be from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We've been asked to take a look at that, and I would like to get the consensus of this board from changing from 7 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock. And that would, of course, be p.m. The floor is open.
Motion to that effect.
We have a motion on the floor to change from 7 to 6. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Vote to approve?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. We'll have a meeting now from 6 in the afternoon to 6, from 7 to 6 in the afternoon. The next item is number 6. I've taken the request of the commission and the timeline that they've asked us to come up with a recommendation from this commission. With that in mind, I prepared a sort of like an outline of that timeline. I think everybody has one in the front of them, and it's not set to where we can't change it. I'd like everybody to take a look at it and let's comment on it. The outline specifically in shorts says that we're going to basically we're going to take the first several months until November, the end of November, to interview and discuss the recommendations of the 2002 changes that would be put forth before the commission in the year 2002. Plus, we would interview the existing and past parish presidents, councilmen, and any other guests that we feel like that can help us come to a decision in what the council has asked us to do in this commission. We will take this information, and once we obtain it through these next several meetings, obtain that information and put it forth, and sometime in December, with all the information that we've gathered from these guests, put it forth and then tackle the actual recommendations that this commission would present to the parish council. After we do that, we'd take each article at several different articles at each meeting and discuss it, and hopefully sometime in January we will come up with a rough draft of this commission's report, to where the parish attorney can start putting it together. I'd like to open this outline for discussion. It can be changed. It was just something that I put together to give us an idea and a timeline, and it's now open for discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When we start these interviews, would it be done sort of like a team, or would we do it as a committee together, or will we do it here, or will we go other places?
No, I envision that we invite them here before this committee. We will send them, I will get with Ms. Suzanne, and we'll send them a little short questionnaire type thing they can be prepared when they come before this commission as to what we're looking for, and they'll be open, and everybody on this commission would be available and have time to listen to what they have to say, and at the end of what they present to us, a short question and answer period between the people on this commission as to whether or not they want to ask questions of these particular guests. It would be done here before this commission, so everybody can see and hear their information.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Would these interviews be conducted at our regular scheduled meeting, or this is in addition to the regular scheduled meeting?
No, sir, this would be done at the meetings that we conduct.
Regular schedule.
Yes, sir.
Question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Would the questions that we would be asking in the interview, are those questions that we as a body are going to decide upon, or are we going to ask them what they thought in particular needed to change about the charter?
What I envision is that we would send a letter, an invitation to them in relation to the 2002 recommendations and the existing home rule charter and their present positions as to what they feel like needs to be changed, correct, and they would then in turn respond to that, and we would each obtain that information over a period of time. I think it's up until December. And we would take all this information that we have in our hand and then set forth and try to come together as a group and put our recommendation together, that each commission member here would be given a chance to question the person that is being interviewed here. But we would like them to give us a short, brief presentation of what they feel like needs to be changed, addressed, and then a short question and period of time after at these meetings that will be conducted on the Wednesday nights. Mr. Poche.
Mr. Floyd, I'm not sure that I understand exactly what we'll be asking them to do. I'm going to start by saying this. We were put on this commission for us to review things. If they have a particular issue that we have not determined, and we have made a determination on the issues that we would be discussing, if they have an issue that's not currently for our consideration, that's what I thought we had decided at our last meeting, that would give them the opportunity to present to us something that they found wrong with the current charter wording, and let us have the opportunity at that time to review it, ask them questions about it, and their proposal, not what we're already looking at, unless they have some specific item that we are already discussing that they would like to have some input on.
That's.
I'm not sure that I understood it right, but that was my understanding of it.
Basically speaking, that's what the outline does. In other words, we're taking each item and we're addressing the 2002 issues that were recommended by the council, by the 2002 commission, and we'll discuss that. Then we'll be interviewing these people as to what they feel like in their positions is.
Define the commission that you were making reference to, so that people.
The 2002 recommendations that were presented to the parish council at that particular time, and that was not acted on.
From whom, though?
The two.
There was no commission at that time.
Ms. Suzanne, am I saying wrong? I thought they had a commission that was put together.
What was it? It was a charter review board? What was it? Robert, you served on it. What was it called?
Say again?
I said, you served on that previous.
The original charter commission. That's not the issues that we were.
We're talking about this review.
That's right. And that was done.
Parish Charter Review Task Force.
Yes.
Okay,
Not a
well,
commission.
then let's change the wording to state that then, please, ma'am.
That's all I want to get clear.
Okay,
so that
well.
the public can understand what we're talking about.
All right. Well, I apologize for not presenting the right name of those 2002 commissions, task force, or body, or committee.
I didn't want to think of it as
No.
a separate commission at that time that didn't act. There was no action taken on it.
Right. It was tabled. It was put aside. The administration that was in office at that particular time did not act on any of it, and it was a great amount. I've reviewed it, and there was a great deal of effort that was put into it, and I spoke to a couple of people that served on that commission, and I think it would be very, very wise for this commission to review and take a look at those recommendations as a starting point, as well as the people that we're going to interview, and take it from there, sir. I mean, we need some type of direction, and I'm not set on just what I'm saying. Anybody else has any direction that they want to try to go into is really okay for me. Yeah, ma'am.
I did some research and I found some information that referred to it as the Ascension Parish Charter Review Committee, and that the charter amended suggestions were presented to the council in the form of a report done by Mr. Art Field with the Public Affairs Research Council. Is that information?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That is what I am speaking about when I mentioned the 2002 report.
Okay.
I'll get Ms. Suzanne to change the name to the proper name. It's open for discussion now as to anybody want to inject in any of this outline. We can start sort of doctoring it up, changing it, adding to it, or whatever. Everybody will be given a chance. If you look at it, we'll be given a chance to invite people that they feel like that could help this commission in the task that they're trying to achieve. Sir.
Mr. Chairman, isn't what you're talking about in your outline when these invitations to people, it's not set on anything they have to ask or be asked or anything else. It would be open for every individual on this commission to decide what you want to ask them. If you want to ask them about the 2002 committee, you could ask them about that. If you want to ask them about what we've maybe have looked at to this point, we could ask them, or just in general their ideas of what they think may be some issues that need to be looked at by this commission.
Most definitely. Most definitely. And
so we have the flexibility with any of us to basically ask any of them anything related to our mission here on the Home Rule Charter.
I would think that everyone on this committee would want to do that so that they can have all this information together, so that each and every one of us on this committee could come up with the recommendations. And I would think it would be very wise for every one of us on this commission to ask the present parish councils, the past parish council members and presidents, asking them their ideas. And I think it would be very wise for every one of us on this committee to question each one of them. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I personally don't have any objections to this outline that you've presented.
Yes, sir.
As long as it would just be not just limited to that way, it could be added to as we see need fit.
That's why we're discussing it now. This is just...
There's no problem with the outline.
Okay.
It's a matter that
Right.
we have the flexibility of adding to it as we see fit.
Most definitely. Like in the month of October, I have some different people to interview. If anybody would like to add to it, or even different parishes, parish presidents, if they want to say, well, you want to change it, I have no objection. It's just something that this committee now has a format and a direction in the go. It can be added to and changed. In fact, I would like everybody to really look at it and actually change some of it to fit what you want to feel, to where you can come up with a good, sound judgment in putting this report to the parish council. Yes, ma'am.
One more question, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I noticed on your outline that you have scheduled in February the drafting of the report with the parish attorney, which was something I had questioned about. And looking at the ordinance forming this body, I noticed that there are much detail to the formal recommendations and the presentation of the official report of recommendations. The ordinance really doesn't define, though, how our recommendations are going to be kept during the process, and who's actually going to oversee keeping that information and forming the actual report. I'm sorry, I'm not clear on
No. Miss Mann?
Sorry.
Miss Mann?
You all have access to the parish's secretarial staff and legal staff. So
Okay.
between
All right. Well,
those
I just
staffs-
was wondering, because in here where it said the parish obligations, it really didn't outline who was going to take care of the report itself. Thank you.
I spoke just to touch a little bit on it. I spoke with both Mr. Martinez and Mr. Bell, and they have assured us that the parish legal system and the parish support system would furnish all needs that we need to help, and I feel like that Ms. Amanda is available to everybody. If you have questions about the existing home rule charter, any changes or anything like that, I would really appreciate that each and every one of y'all would call these people and discuss it more. And if there is any serious questions, bring it forth here and let's all of us discuss it and everything. I mean, the legal system is here. The parish system is here.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you require a motion that we adopt this review, this outline as our MO, or?
I would suggest that we try to adopt something, not meaning that you have to adopt this unless we adopt this with the fact that we can add and change, but it's just some form of outline that we can go forward with.
Well, I'd be happy to make that motion that we accept this outline. I think it's a nice piece of work, certainly with a little addendum that it's flexible. I don't know how that...
Miss Amanda, will we need a motion to put this into place as far as an outline in relation to what we're trying to do here with this this timeline?
I don't think it's necessary. You can just place these items on the next agendas, and
Okay.
that should be sufficient.
Okay. Yes, sir. Mr. Black.
I think for one thing, we'd want to be real careful if we put it in the form of a motion. We would commit ourselves maybe too strongly to have some lateral flexibility. While I certainly appreciate the effort that you made in making the outline, because I'll be honest with you, when I first saw on the agenda that we would go to 2 meetings a month, I wasn't real sure we needed to do that. Looking at your outline, it makes it pretty clear we've got a lot of work to do to meet our timeline, and so it does spell that out and clear that up. It's I think it's an excellent starting point, and with it understood by this commission that there's flexibility to this, but at least it gives us a guide and a path forward that we can finally start getting something done. So I commend you for your effort, and I say we forge ahead and adapt to it as we need to conduct our business, provided we compile a proper agenda and then adhere to the agendas.
Mr. Bless, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And again, like I'm saying, this is just a starting point to give us, because we do have a deadline. I would really expect this commission and each and every one of you ladies and gentlemen on this commission to add to it, that what you feel like you need, that you can come up with your recommendations in discussing this. I would really appreciate, if you notice, we have several months with open dates and everything. So if you have someone that you feel like that can come before this committee and present something to this committee that can help this committee come up with a set of document, come up with a document that we can turn to the parish council, then it's here. It's in place. And with that in mind, I think we'll go ahead and move on. And I would like to, if any way possible, get with Ms. Suzanne, and we are recommending these dates. Inviting these gentlemen, they're going to need time to fit it in their schedule, to maybe even move their schedule around to meet our schedule. So I would like to see if I can get with Ms. Suzanne, and we can come up with the list and send out invitations to these gentlemen in order that they'll have enough time to prepare themselves with ideas and what they feel like they need to do, but most of all, a time that they'll know to appear before this commission well ahead of time, that it can put in their schedule.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Since we're going to do that and begin to invite people, I guess my question is, you've got a couple of different parishes on here, West Baton Rouge and Livingston. Why those two versus others? Is it because of similar size or similar structure, or similar home rule charter to ours? Are there any others that maybe we could look at in addition to those, or even in place of those? Was there a reason behind the picks for those two?
Yes, sir. Those two names came out, and I've just put those there. If anybody would like to change them, add to them, let's please do so.
Comment, Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just to catch you up, we discussed this at some length at our last meeting, and they pretty much opened the door to us to invite any and all parish presidents from all over the state, and even to the point we can go and visit them as well as invite them here. So there's no set order, and I know these are two that we talked about. Iberville Parish was another one.
Yes, sir.
You know, it being real close to us and much like us. So, but there's those certainly wouldn't be the only two. It's just we threw some names around last week, and I guess the chairman just picked those two first. But we can certainly extend that beyond that.
If you notice, in November, we have interviews of others. I left some openings in our meeting outline to where we can add other guests to invite here. Like in October the 1st, in September, we are inviting other parish guests. This outline is not nailed down to just those people. And anybody that would like to add in that, will just let Miss Suzanne and them know, and we'll just send them an invitation. And also, if you notice, in January and February, we have open meetings. So if we have more people to interview, this can be put into these two scheduled meetings, and then that would allow us to continue and meet our deadline of April the 1st. Mr. Porsche.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a copy of that outline that you're making reference to, but when do you envision inviting these people from other parishes to our meeting? I don't have that outline. That's
okay. Well, right now, the outline tonight, we need to discuss the charter recommendations of 2002.
Yes, I understand. But we were discussing.
No, let me. I'm just going to give you when we're going to do it. Or you just want me to tell you?
Just tell me. When
okay. That would be in September. Ms. Suzanne, do you have an extra copy?
I thought everybody was sent all these papers.
I don't have this thing. My point being,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, until we get into what we actually would like to work on and make some recommendations and review what we have currently, if we had these people here tonight, what questions would we ask them? They're not familiar, most of them are not familiar with our charter. We can ask them questions about their charter if we've already went through their charter and see how it differs from ours. But in the early part of our work, it would be limited to how much help they can give us, I believe. I can envision further down the line where after we've worked on this and we have some ideas for what we need to do, we can request of them to come, and if they would come, we could ask them if it works in their parish, if we go through that charter and see that they have something different than ours.
Mr. Porsche, I don't think this committee or anyone on this committee would object if you would get a copy of each one of these parish or anyone that we'd like to invite and go over to where we can be prepared to ask them. I think we're just wanting to get a recommendation for the way that their charter's set up and just get information from them, just information. I basically don't. I understand your question, but I don't understand your question, sir. I just got the first outline here to obtain information, and in December, we start compiling all this information now. In other words, they may come before, and if you have a question on, say, veto power, and it's totally different from what we have in our charter, then I think, and you're interested in how they handle their veto power in their parish, then I think that would be one area which maybe you would want to discuss or talk with them about. I mean, maybe I'm not understanding what you're asking me.
Mr. Chairman, maybe it was me that didn't understand. I was trying to determine if we had one here tonight, what will we ask him? we haven't gotten far enough into this business that we're going to have to work on to really determine what we'd like to see, what steps we'd like to get into.
That's why we have them scheduled in September, sir. We need to start working here at this time right now.
That was my original question, when they were going to actually be here.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you didn't have a outline in front of you, but now you have one, and you got it now. Okay?
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
Can I ask one further question?
Yes, sir.
It seems like as a part of that discussion, when we have them here, I think some of what Mr. Poche may be trying to say is we need some basis to ask them some questions. So at least my thinking is I'm going to try to review those charters and see where their charters are different than ours. It might be a big task to have to review West Baton Rouge, Livingston, and anybody else, so it might not be a bad idea if we were to separate those on separate meetings rather than have them at the same meeting to give us time to prepare the questions we want to ask to those individuals. You know, for instance, when we have Livingston Parish, I don't know that I'd want to have West Baton Rouge Parish on the same night. We're all volunteers. We're going to have to review those charters to see what the differences are so that because I would envision we would say, your charter says this and ours is this. Does this work for y'all? Does it not work for you? Why are y'all different than us? You know, that's kind of what I would envision we might do. So we need preparation time. It might be difficult to read over 3 and 4 charters for the September meeting. That's my only thought. I think it's a good idea, but maybe we should spread them a little bit.
That's why we're discussing this right now. Let's doctor this outline. That's what I'm trying to make y'all understand. Let's doctor this outline to where we can have that. Please, I'm asking for help with it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, aren't the first couple scheduled to have local, our council delegation and the parish president from our parish here, the first few in September?
No, I don't. If y'all feel like that, we want to view ours first before inviting anybody else, then we can do that. If it's the consensus.
I mean, that would be my impression.
Okay, is everybody?
I have questions I'd like to ask of them.
Existing, in other words, you're saying y'all would rather interview our political leaders?
That's just my opinion. I'd like to talk to them first because I've got questions before we work on very much at all. I'd like to talk to them to see what concerns or input they have.
Okay, all right. Suzanne, please make a note that you and I, when we sit down, we change from inviting other guests versus inviting our leaders. We'll make a change on those dates when we send out the invitations. Yes, sir.
I might suggest then, based on this, because I think everybody's making some very valid points, that when y'all sit down and do the reschedule, let's forego scheduling any outside parish presidents till maybe the January time frame. Let's spend from now to January in-house with our own people. I think there's plenty to get done between now and January.
Mr. Bushy?
Mr. Chairman, I also see on here, now I'm reading, that we're going to do like council members from District 1 through 4.
Yes, sir.
I like more flexibility, so that you would have more flexibility, that you would have, once the invitation's out, and let's say 2 of them tell you no, they didn't have anything they'd like to discuss, or they're not going to participate, you could have 2 other ones invited where we could have the 4 in at one night, instead of just, as you got, 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 11.
Yes, sir.
Give you more flexibility and invite some other people if they say they're not coming.
I see what you mean, but then suppose we invite 1 through 4 and they come, but we also invite.
You're not, if they're coming, you don't have to invite them.
Ms. Suzanne, let's make a note. We'll rework this area in this outline and give ourselves a little bit more flexibility in relation to inviting the different parishes and parish councils, and also our own parish council members. And we would like to invite our own parish council members and parish president before anybody else. Any more comments? I'd like to get everything done and have all our information sometime in December, that really we can start actually working on this thing and putting it together. Does anybody disagree with that, or is that not a reasonable goal where we can have all our information, all our interviews, and then really sit down and start putting this thing together for our recommendation to the council? Does anybody have any objections that we try to make this December 3rd date?
I would think that would be prudent on our part because we still have a lot of work left to be done after we
Right.
finish the interviews and all. I would think we need to have it done by the end of December also. I'm in agreement with you there.
Okay. Well, then from what I'm hearing, everybody's in agreement that we invite our own political people, parish council members and presidents before we invite anybody else.
Correct.
Ms. Suzanne, we're going to make a note of that. And then I just use, like West Baton Rouge Parish and Livingston, please, if y'all have anyone that y'all would like to invite, let's just let Ms. Suzanne know, and we'll try to coordinate it to where we don't have, I don't want to wind up where we have a tremendous amount of people here and we don't have time to interview them, and they're here, and we don't have a chance to get to them, and we don't have enough time for each and everybody to ask questions. And I don't want us to wind up where we all sitting here looking at ourselves, waiting on somebody to come in that's not coming in. So I would like to let everybody know that we're going to need a little bit of flexibility in this, and it's going to be a little hard to put it together because, again, like Mr. Porsche said, there's a possibility that we may invite 4 people and only 2 show up. So it may be a little bit difficult for us to really pinpoint it and nail it down to where we got X number of people one night or one meeting and then again the next. So we're going to need a little bit of flexibility, and I'm going to need a little bit of help from you people to put this thing together, please.
Mr. Chairman, when
Yes,
when you consider the different points of interest that we're going to have on so many different articles, you understand?
Yes, sir.
You got to consider the time element that it's going to take. So I think we should have our outline and questions put together, come prepared. Because everybody's not going to have the same, unless you give us homework or something, but everybody's going to come in here with a different, I would think.
Well, let me get myself clear. Maybe I'm headed in the wrong direction. I would envision, like, if we would invite, let's just say Livingston Parish, and I know my home rule charter here, and there's certain things that in my home rule charter that I, without looking at their home rule charter, that I would like to know how they have their home rule charter set up. Then that would be a question that I would ask them, not necessarily meaning that I would have to read their complete home rule charter without them answering my particular question that of the existing home rule charter that we have versus reading theirs and then not only wanting to ask about 3 or 4 questions of what they do in that particular area of their home rule charter. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what we're saying here. I mean, I don't know. Like, for instance, I guess an example would be like, let's just use the veto power. I would like to know how they do it. I wouldn't necessarily read theirs, because if I read it, then I know how they're doing it. But I would like to know how they do it and why they do it, and why they do it like they do it. Without that would be some of the areas which the 2002 recommendation that was put forth. Am I misunderstanding what we're trying to do without getting into a whole lot of reading of their charters? It would be a certain amount of question that I would want to know how they conduct their business in their charter. Mr. Porsche?
Mr. Chairman, I have read a number of charters. I think that it would be advisable to all of us serving on here to actually read the charter or the point in their charter that you have questions about before you start asking them questions, because you're going to find that many of the things, I'm going to use St. James as an example, which is not on here. You find that many of the things in their charter, word for word, is the same that's in ours. And I can't tell you about Livingston's, I don't recall exactly, but I'm saying that many of the things you're going to find, if we can get a copy of that charter, get everybody, and if you have a particular interest that you would be interested in asking them about, we can at first look at that charter just to see if it's exactly the same as ours.
I have no objection to that. I have no objection to it.
I mean, I hate to just question them on something that, well, yeah, we do it just like y'all do. I'd hate to have that happen.
I have no objections to you getting their charter and reading it as well. I have no objections. If you feel like that, anybody on this commission feel like that would be the way that they would want to tackle it, then I suggest they do that. I think we've discussed this at great length. If anybody has any more, I think we need to move on now. And we'll go ahead and I'll meet with Ms. Suzanne in the next week, and we'll try to revive this outline a little to where it fits more what we discussed here tonight. And again, if there are other parish officials that y'all would like to invite in this timeline that we have, please step forward and let Ms. Suzanne know. Just step forward and let her know so that we can come up with this outline and move forward. I think we need to move on to the next item now, and that would be discussing number 7. That would be number 7, the invitation to parish officials, which we discussed basically right now. Yes, these were on all these are on this. It's number 8, right? 8A, 8B, 8C, and D. Number 3. She wanted item number 3, which is public sign-in. It's public sign-in. Okay, let's move on to item number 8. In our last meeting, I think we all agreed that we'd go home and read the existing home rule charter and then read the recommendations of the 2002 task force. I would like at this time that we discuss these amendments of number 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If we may, I think it would be prudent on our part to discuss 2 before 1, since 1 refers to 2.
I would think that in discussing all these items that we're going to cross over back and forth. So if item 1 crosses into 2, or if item 2 crosses into 1, I would think that we'd want to go ahead and discuss both of them in the same manner. Would that not be possible, Ms. Mann? Mr. Poche made a comment that we discuss amendment number 2 versus before number 1, but in reading it, the different amendments that were proposed by the 2002 task force, they intercross a lot. So I don't think it's any procedure that we have to go through. Just start on 1 if it crosses into 2.
No, but if you have a public speaker, you need to let them go ahead and speak.
Right.
before you
I'm
address
fixing
those issues.
to do that. Okay. Public comment.
Yes, I would appeal to the chairman, Mr. Kluot. I'm Catherine Guppelt and Lindsay. The public records allows a person to speak on any item
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
listed on the agenda, and I did put in a public record card for item number 3, and you skipped on that. And would you allow me to make a few comments?
Oh, I apologize, ma'am. I did not. Number 3, public comment sign in. Okay, number 3, public sign. I apologize, ma'am. Let's hear you.
That's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to make a few comments from the ordinance that you're operating under. It's 3 pages at commission agenda, and I just want to read it carefully because as I was working over this agenda, there's several things on it that don't follow the ordinance. Only a member of the commission may place a matter on the commission agenda. Each agenda item shall identify the member affixing same to the agenda. Each agenda item shall be limited to proposing repeal or amendment of 1 particular matter in the parish charter. Each agenda item shall identify by specific reference to an existing paragraph or section of the charter what said item is intended to repeal or amend. If it is a new matter proposed to be added to the charter, then the agenda shall identify what section it shall be incorporated in the charter should the matter be adopted. On this particular agenda that we had tonight, items 4 and 8 did not identify the member who placed these on the agenda. I'm assuming it's you, Mr. Kluot. And item 8, which this is not such a problem, but item 8 is quite a confusing. It does not specify by specific reference to an existing paragraph or section of the charter. And if I had not had the amendments that were proposed, I would have been totally confused coming to the meeting, looking at your listing here. If I had a copy of the charter, knowing where I was supposed to look in the charter to find this section and what you were amending. So any item that is not written on the and published on the commission agenda shall not be considered at the commission's meeting. No item that is added to the agenda on the day of the commission meeting or at the meeting shall be voted on upon that day or at the meeting. So it's not on the agenda. You can't add it by two-thirds emergency. Any item that is submitted after publication of the commission agenda or at a meeting shall be continued for deliberation and vote at the next commission meeting, or it shall be considered defeated. You know, my question to you, Mr. Cluot, and probably to Ms. Manda, since these items were not listed with the section according to the present charter, can we discuss them, consider them tonight?
Ms. Manda, you're speaking in relation to like
in item 8, you're for
number 8. You're speaking like to like number 8, item A, amendment number 1.
Yeah. See, it doesn't say here what place in the charter we're discussing to amend. It should have a section and a title so that you can go to the charter and see what's there, and then. Of course, there's nothing on this that tells anybody that doesn't have the other amendments.
Ms. Manda, can you?
Yes, Chairman Cluot, Ms. Goppold is correct. You all need to follow and comply with the ordinance. However, because item 8 is just discussion,
yes,
I don't think there would be any problem with you all discussing. But again, I don't think you can take a vote on those items because they were not.
I think I would like the board to be with me on this. I think the intention of this was just to discuss it, gather the information that we all feel like that we need to have to make our decisions at a later meeting in December with this information. I think this was just all this was intended to do was just discuss this and not really make a motion or vote on it, anything. It was just to mainly discuss these items. Amendments, discuss amendments 1, 2, and 3, and 4, not make any type of decision tonight.
Right, and I understand your intent, but the speaker is correct. You all do need to comply with the ordinance, and if you're going to discuss or vote on a specific item in the charter, you should reference that in the agenda.
Maybe I'm not understanding. Maybe I'm misunderstanding you. We're just going to discuss it tonight. We're not going to vote, not make any motions or any voting, anything. So you're saying if we were to discuss amendment number 1 and it reflects any type of article or section in the existing charter, we cannot discuss it?
No, I believe you can discuss this, but
that was the intent
in the future,
of this, just to discuss
you all need to
amendment number 1 of the 2002 recommendations, and just discuss it here tonight, to where everybody can get the consensus of what we're trying to do if they feel it, and then they come up with their own ideas, whether it should be applied, whether it should be implemented or not implemented. And it's just a fact-finding type thing.
Right, I understand, but
Okay.
for the public to know what you're speaking about, you should put the section numbers that are referenced in the charter. I think that's what Ms. Goppold is trying to tell you.
Okay. I understand. I know what she's saying. So you're saying we should always put, if we're going to discuss amendment number 1, every article in the existing home rule charter needs to be put along with this amendment item.
Yes.
Okay. Well, would that stop us tonight from discussing?
I don't believe it will
Yes, sir.
prohibit you from discussing.
Yes, sir.
We have a person over there has the floor. She has to continue.
I'm just asking Ms. Manor. I know she has a point, but I'm trying to get something. Ma'am, what would be your recommendations at this point?
I would recommend that you go forward with the discussion.
Thank you.
And not take a vote
that
on
was what I felt like.
Okay, great.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't really know how we're going to discuss it because you had A, B, C, and D, and I have comments on.
I'm sorry.
when you have it on the agenda as A, B, C, and D, I'm going to first talk about A, and then you're going to discuss A? And then I have some comments I want to make about B, and then you're going to discuss B. Is that how it's going to be handled?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Then I'd like to make a few comments on agenda item number 8 related to the presidential veto. The Ascension Chamber, along with the Donaldsonville Chamber, whose previous recommendations we are considering tonight, stated their reason for convening in their report of April 16, 2002 as, quote, problems that were being experienced in parish government, parentheses, as reported in the local and regional media, end parentheses, and end quote. I've asked people that I know in the community what was happening in the media at that time, and nobody really remembers. I didn't go back and do research, so I think that's something we could maybe ask some of the people on the chamber. What was the intent? What were they thinking? What were the problems? Anyway, Section 3.04 regarding the presidential veto presently has about 160 words. The amendments you are discussing tonight have over 350. Aside from removing a veto on the resolutions, which really carry no force of law, the time for a veto is ambiguously extended in your amendment from 1 to 10 days to be decided by the Secretary of the Council. As written now in the present charter, within 10 days after passage, the President must veto. This is very clear. Presently, the parish president sets the agenda. I'm trying to explain this so if y'all don't go to meetings and you don't understand how the process is, it'll help you to understand why they're putting all these timelines in. The president sets the agenda with the council chairman, and any item on the agenda is known at least 24 hours prior to the agenda, or to the meeting itself. And usually the agenda is posted 3 days before the council meeting. Then the ordinance, if it's introduced, cannot be voted on immediately, but it must be published in a paper of record and is usually placed on the agenda for a public hearing no sooner than 2 weeks after the introduction. This is a question I had. Do we need to increase the amount of time between the passage of the ordinance and a possible presidential veto? Because that's what you're asking in this amendment. You're going to change that time. Put yourself in the president's shoes. That's what I did. If you were given an ordinance of about 3 pages, which is what you're operating under, and most of them are about that. There's very few that are more than 5 or 6 pages. But if you had 3 pages similar to one of this commission, do you think that you could read 3 pages of information in a minimum of 15 days, the shortest timeline for passage after the introduction? Secondly, do you think that after being given another 10 days to decide or determine whether or not you should oppose or support the ordinance that was passed, do you think you could make a decision in 10 days? Read it in 15 days and make a decision in 10 days. That's 25 days. If the answer is yes to both of these questions, then there really isn't a need to amend this section of the charter. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Mr. Boucher?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion that everything that's on our agenda that refers to a particular section of the charter, that section be noted on the agenda so that someone may go to our current charter and determine what it is we'll be discussing. I'll offer that in the form of a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion has been made and second. We'll vote on the motion. Is anybody for? Anybody against? Well, everybody seems to be doing it. Seems to be. All right, do we have any questions about it? We're a little out of order right now, I realize that.
Well, I was thinking we didn't need it in the form of a motion. We've caught ourselves in error, and we just simply need to correct it. And from this point forward, when we make an agenda, we have to be very specific, as we've referenced the subject matter we're going to be discussing as to what part of the home rule current existing home rule charter is. It has to be very clear to the public what our reference is. And in this agenda, it is not. I don't think we need it in the form of a motion. And that's my discussion.
Ms. Manna? Ms. Manna?
Yes, you have a question?
A motion, should we need a
It does not need to be in the form of a motion. It's in the ordinance that created this body, so
Yeah.
Okay.
just follow the ordinance.
Ms. Manda, I'll get with you after the meeting. I want to have a few questions to ask you in relation to this particular item.
Okay.
You know, are we,
I
Sir?
would say we
We
still
do.
have to vote. or
we have a
to
motion on the
withdraw.
floor.
And he withdraws it.
He withdraw the motion. Okay, motion has been withdrawn. Ms. Manda, can we just go forward now and discuss and not make any motions or act on these amendments? Just
Yes.
discuss these amendments?
Yes.
Is this board ready to discuss these amendments? Amendment number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4?
Well, I think right now we have to stay on A,
All right.
before we move to B.
I understand that, but I'm making a general statement.
Right.
That let's move forward. Let's do something.
Yeah, and as
Let's do
far as-
something. Let's start discussing something. Let's move forward and discuss number 8, amendment number 1. Open to the floor. Ma'am?
Yes, sir. I have some of the same concerns after reading the proposed changes. First thing, I would like clarity, is it 10 business days or is it 10 calendar days?
I believe it's 10 calendar
10
days.
calendar days. I also have concern how long that'll take. You know, I believe in the veto power, but I mean, how many meetings later will the issue really be resolved?
Well, they have council meetings occur twice monthly.
Yes,
so,
I understand that.
A veto would more than likely fall on a day before the next council meeting. So the president, if an ordinance is adopted, the president would have to veto before the next council meeting.
Okay. And so then you have 10 more days.
To override the veto?
Yes. So that's my concern, though, from the time the ordinance passes, and if a veto occurs, what is the longest amount of time that it's going to take for it to be resolved?
I'm not understanding.
Well,
your
if you
question.
count the days on the calendar,
Right.
okay, say at a council meeting, an ordinance is passed. If the parish president chooses to take the whole 10 days to decide on vetoing or not, well, then that's not time for it to come back to the next meeting, if you count the calendar days.
No,
If you look at a calendar and count.
Right.
So it would not come back at the next meeting, it would come back at the second meeting after
In
the
these
ordinance was
instances,
passed.
right.
And then the council would have 10 more days, am I correct?
Right, but generally the council will call a special meeting in those instances. If they want to override the veto, they'll call a special meeting.
And I understand that too, but I'm thinking that we should discuss this time frame because it slows the process.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I agree with you, but I think it's pretty well spelled out. He's got 10 days, and if he takes all of the 10 days and does it on the 10th day, he's got to schedule a meeting within 10 days unless there's a regular meeting. So 20 days would be your number. That's the maximum number of days that could happen. And so it would seem to me, if we were simply going to shorten that time period, you could leave it as written and make it 5 and 5, or 7 and 7, or whatever it is. In other words, it's pretty well written. Just change the numbers if that's what you want to do.
That's what I was looking for discussion about.
Okay.
Any more comments on?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've been wondering, I've been looking over it, I'm trying to find out if I'm reading it right in difference from the original. In the original, from once the ordinance is adopted, the president has 10 days to act upon it by veto or whatever he chooses to do. In the revised amendment, if I'm reading it correct, it says the Secretary of the Council has 10 days to get it to him, and then he would have 10 days after that to act on it?
Ms. Mann?
Am I reading that
Yes.
correctly?
I don't
Yes,
have
you
the
are.
recommendations in front of me.
Yes.
So it could basically be 20 days right there instead of 10 in the original. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure I was reading that correctly.
Mr. Forche?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. In the original, in our current charter, the way it was written, the intent was to expedite, if there was in fact a veto, to expedite the procedure that you follow following that veto, so that if the veto happened to pertain to something that had grant money involved, I'm just using it as an example, and there's a time frame so that it could be done as expediently as possible, and the time frame set in this original one seems to be as short as we could make it, not as long as we could make it, and that's why it was written that way.
Any more discussion?
I would think this would be one of the items that we might want to look at other charters to kind of see how they handle vetoes also. And maybe when we invite the other councilman and get a better idea of it. That's my feeling.
Thank you, sir. That's exactly why I was hoping for discussion about this issue, because the way I'm reading it and counting it on a calendar, you're looking at weeks could go by before an issue could be resolved. And, we can discuss, too, whether or not calling a special meeting is a good thing or not. But I think that this time frame needs to be discussed.
Anybody else? Any more comments?
No.
Then let's move forward to number B, amendment number 2. Public speaker?
Thank you, Mr. Kluot.
You're welcome.
We'll get this down. On number B, there was a little confusion on the way this was written in the amendment, and it has down here on the agenda something about the secretary. But when I went to read it, it had something about the treasurer. And so I think, again, we look at these amendments. In fact, there's actually 2 amendments under number 2, not 1. You're going to change the take secretary out and just say the treasurer is appointed by the parish president and serves at his pleasure. And the secretary, you're going to have another whole section say the secretary is going to be appointed by the council and serve at their pleasure. Then you change the section number, a new section. I don't know whether it's supposed to be 509 or 409, but 409, when I looked it up in the charter, was removal of a department head. And I don't think Miss Suzanne is removal of a department head. So there's really some confusion about the way this is written. But anyway, I'll make some comments about what I did see. Council employees, this is a whole new section. So I think that needs to be addressed separately. This provides for the council to appoint the secretary, but also to hire other employees. This is something new. Let me read exactly the words that popped out on the page to me as I read it. Quote, hire other employees, quote, as may be necessary to assist the council in carrying out its legislative duties and responsibilities, end quote. Now, this is my question that I asked myself. Does the council need additional employees to carry out their duties? Only they can answer that question. That might be a question you ask them when they come, or privately. I don't know. However, from a taxpayer standpoint, this is an expansion of government with additional expense. It creates an opportunity for abuse and political positions for the council that have not been needed in the past. Presently, if I'm incorrect, Ms. Suzanne, you tell me, Ms. Suzanne handles the council work, and she has an assistant, Ms. Cinnamon Rodenhorst. And they have in the past, with these two positions, handled all the work of the council, to my understanding, without any problems. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I'd like to say. Thank you so much.
I'd like to just make a statement right now that all this is we discussing this. So, in discussing these, I apologize for not putting the proper articles in the agenda. That will be corrected again this coming agenda meeting for the meeting, second meeting of this month. Now, do we have any discussions on the board about item B, amendment number 2? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I'm going to ask for clarification also. When I read it, I was at first confused, but I understood it to mean that Section 501, the Secretary and the Treasurer, needed to be changed to remove the Secretary from that particular section. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Section 409 addressed solely the council's authority to appoint their own secretary. Am I correct in that assumption too? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any more discussion on this item B, amendment number 2? Let's move forward to item C, amendment number 3. Public comment.
Thank you. I believe that C and D go together, so I'm going to make my comments together, and you can look at it that way. I just want to make a statement about the charter. This is our parish constitution, and it does represent a balance of power between the legislative and executive branches. Any changes in the balance of power should be made carefully and cautiously. In an Ascension Chamber candidate survey prior to the election, President Martinez answered questions related to the charter, and he favored the following: changing or reducing the size of the council, at-large seats for the council, an increase in the parish president's authority, and term limits for parish council seats. He opposed only one thing: any decrease in his own authority. I have some copies of this survey for you, and I will give it to you, and it might be a snapshot for you prior to the election, what they thought about so many different things related to the charter. Okay? It will really be a help to you, I believe. Lord Action, he was a founding father and an English historian and a professor of modern history at Cambridge University in 1881. And he said this: all power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The changes that are recommended here allow the President complete authority to remove employees with no opportunity for an appeal to the Council. This gives one person too much power, in my opinion. And I would not recommend that you remove F in Section 301. It allows the President power to remove all employees, but it also allows the governing authority the power to reinstate any employees who've been removed by the President, but only on a 2/3 vote of the members of the governing authority. Thank you.
Thank you. It's open for discussion.
I took the liberty of doing a little research on this item myself. I looked at a bunch of other charters in the area, and for some reason or another, this never came up in no other charter. I never saw it anywhere else. On the ones that I reviewed about 3 different charters. So I'm quite sure they took a lot into consideration when they drew this charter up. So I guess to me, maybe someone on the council, or maybe we had to question someone about when they were drawing up this charter, what were they thinking to require the 2/3 votes to reinstate if the president chooses to terminate somebody. Because, like I said, every chart I researched on, I never saw this particular item in it.
Maybe Mr. Porsche?
Mr. Chairman, I will shed a little light on that. We felt that, as the speaker spoke earlier, said that there should be a division in power. We felt that the president should have the authority to fire someone if he, in fact, thought they should be fired. We also thought that the elected members, 11 council members, should have a right, if they felt that this person was wronged by some manner, to reinstate that person, but not with a majority vote. We put it a little more strongly where it had to have a 2/3 vote, so that not just a 6-vote majority, but it had to have 2/3 vote, and we thought that that was a good check and balance. We studied it very far, pretty thoroughly before we did that, and we had a couple of union members to serve with us, and they felt very strongly about that, and I do believe that St. James Charter has that in there.
Yeah.
Do you recommend changing this amendment?
I'll have recommendations at the proper time, sir.
Thank you.
Point. Yes, sir. In the research I did, I read through a bunch of these charters, and in my opinion, the verbiage in all of these charters are pretty much the same, identical. Okay, so what happened, I think from looking at the charter, when they came back with the recommendation, for the most part, they didn't see this in the charter, so the recommendation is, well, maybe we need to take this out. That was just that's the way I'm looking at it. A recommendation came. Now, nobody acted upon it. That's going to be up to us to make some recommendations, but like I said, I did a lot of research on it also, and I couldn't find it. So I took for granted that after reading all of these charters, they said, well, nobody else has that, or maybe one parish has that. Well, maybe we don't need that. No.
Any more discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
I think that I understand that what happens is, as instead of the power to reinstate going to the council, it is transferred to the Human Resources Department, where people have a right to appeal and seek justice in their particular employment scenario. So I don't think that we would be taking someone's right to appeal their being removed away. We would just be transferring that right into the Human Resources Department, if I understand this correctly, which is fairly typical of any corporate structure and somewhat typical of some of government structures. In reading several of the different parishes' charters, I did find that in many cases, I won't say many, for it might be just a few. Don't want to get caught up splitting hairs here. But in many cases, or a few cases, it does specifically say that the department heads serve at the pleasure of the president, and it has a period at the end of it.
Any more discussion? Let's everybody jump forward and let's discuss all this stuff, please.
Question, sir. It appears to me that in this section we're discussing department heads, and then the term employees is appearing. Are we strictly talking about department heads?
I think we're specifically talking about department heads, if I read it correctly.
Yes, I would say yes. Because I think the human resources under the president covers everybody else. All employees.
Well, that was my point. We're
Right.
discussing number 3, and under number 3, we have Section 409, and then we have Section 303. So under number 3 that we're discussing, we have 2 different sections, and the 409 is titled Removal of Department Heads, and then Section 303, under this amendment number 3 that we're discussing, is Powers and Duties of the President, and it uses the term employees. I would just like clarification, which one are we talking about? Department heads only or employees in general?
I think that would be left to this committee as to the recommendations as to whether it be department heads or anyone else.
Well, my question would be, who hires the department heads?
All right, Mr. Mann, can you comment on that?
President.
Parish president.
Parish president.
Confirmation from the council.
That's right, confirmation.
Confirmation from the
From
council.
the council, that's what I was informed, but I just want to make sure.
Okay, so his hires have to be ratified by the council.
By the council.
Yes.
That's where the sticking point is coming from. Then, if he was the sole person hiring him, in my opinion, he should be the sole person who could fire him. But the fact that he hires them and it has to be ratified by them, I can see where they would have some say-so in that regard.
President's president.
Yes.
Because if not, to me, it's like a contradictory type thing. The president will nominate him, but he has to get a 2/3 vote from the council. But if the president decides that he don't want him, he don't need no vote from anybody. He just don't want him. You know, to me, that's kind of contradictory. So,
Mr.
That is the condition of our state government and our national government. You're ratified by Congress when you're appointed by the president. You serve at the pleasure of the president. Period.
I sure hope everybody's making notes when we do get to this level or time that we can go ahead and go forward in doing what we need to do to ratify all this stuff, all these amendments and everything. Is there any more discussions on item C, Amendment 3? Let's move forward then to item B, Amendment number 4.
go with that also.
I was just called.
I think she spoke on that. The two of them was kind of.
Yes. Yeah, right. But do we have any more? Do we want to discuss it separately?
You
No
talking
comment.
item D?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to? Do you have any more discussions?
Well, certainly no discussion that's going to resolve or settle anything tonight, but I think we've clearly got a good eye-opener on the magnitude of what we're trying to get done here. And I would just offer a suggestion that from this point forward, people take time, people on this commission take time, and for lack of a better phrase, start developing your own personal punch list as we go through these items, and as you have time at home to go over the charter as it stands, start jotting down the areas you think are problem areas, and at some point we maybe can consolidate them. Hopefully there'll be a fair amount of duplication so that the blanket punch list will be fairly short. But it's clear to me we're not going to land on or settle anything tonight. It's all good discussion. And maybe between now and the next meeting, everybody can come back with a better understanding of the conflicts between the current charter and the proposed changes by the O2 task force. It's a lot it's a lot to be resolved and a lot to be considered.
I'd just like to comment that all we doing with the 2002 recommendations is reviewing it. It was a place to start. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to implement any of these recommendations into our recommendations. It's just a place to start, and that I agree with Mr. Plessy that we need to review these things more in depth. I would like for everybody to really start reading it and commenting, and I illustrate what Mr. Duplessis is saying. I will next agenda will cover every section. It will be in every. I will put the agenda together that will cover every section in it. But again, this is strictly just discussing. Do we think we need to have motions to start accepting, denying, or passing or failing any of these amendments? I don't think we need that until we get all our facts, until we get everything before us. And so all of this is strictly just discussing, and then once we go through the 2002 task, then we get our guests to come in, and then we, like Mr. Plessy was saying, it's going to be a task to put together, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to adopt the 2002. It's just strictly a starting point. Does anybody have any comments on that?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think that's a good idea, and I like the idea of starting to look at some previous work that was done by the what was that, task force in 2002, or committee, in developing some of these ideas, whether it went anywhere or not. But I know in my thought process, we need to keep in mind that these aren't necessarily some things we need to consider, or that it's good or bad, and that we need to delve into these and too much. I think we need to look at them at face value. But again, I go back, that's why I'm anxious to hear from some of our elected officials and see what areas they may know in dealing with it day to day that may be something we need to look at. And it may be some of these, it may not be, because I know most of these seem to be in the early part of the charter. Most of this work in 2002, and there's not a lot towards the end of it. Maybe nothing needed to be done back there, but I'm really anxious to hear from some of these officials myself, and start getting some other ideas to go along with this previous work in 2002. And some of them, it may be, as this commission may decide, it doesn't bear any more looking at. And then again, maybe some of them do, may just need to be fine-tuned a little bit.
Do we feel like that we need to bring in guests before we discuss these items, or we need to go through these items?
I like the idea of going through this and look, and we can get some kind of ideas. I think tonight a couple of good points came out. What may look good as a potential change, it may be a little wordy, or may add a little too much, or take away a little too much. So I think it's good looking at this by all means. I'm just saying I'm anxious too to hear from some of these other people that come in before us.
From what I'm getting tonight, we might be able to change the time frame on going through the 2002. Accelerate, yes, right. Accelerate it so that we can go ahead and start getting other guests in it.
I certainly agree with Mr. Stewart's comments. I think it would be helpful if you're going to send out any kind of request to elected officials, that you might ask them what problems they encountered. I mean, that's the most direct question you can ask. What held up your legislative body from moving forward, and see how they respond?
Maybe I'm getting the wrong impression. I thought that, and by inviting these guests, that's what we're going to be doing, is to get them before us to say, give us your ideas of what's wrong that hampers you from doing your job, both from the council standpoint and the parish president's standpoint. That's my intent.
I agree, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's my
the question
intent.
I have for them, and even these other parishes.
And then when these other people come in, In other words, they may be experiencing some of the same things that we experience and have ideas to correct it. And I think that was my impression. I mean, if I've got the wrong impression, please let me know. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you 100%. The only thing I think we need to make sure we caution ourselves is that lots of times when these guys come before us and tell us what their problems might be, it's going to be because they had an issue that they couldn't get through in the way that they wanted to get it done. So the charter worked in that sense. And so we have to be cognizant that what they tell us may not necessarily be a problem.
Well, I think that would be left up to this board
Right.
as to when we recommend our recommendations as to what we feel like
Right.
working and not working, and not a favoritism type thing.
Right.
Mr. Plessy.
I'd just like to say that we spent quite a bit of time discussing these issues tonight, and it's all been good discussion. Fortunately, we have not identified any of these areas as being a problem area. We may be spending far too much time, and we haven't identified, is the veto power of the parish president, is it a problem right now? And if the consensus of both sides is no, it's not really a problem, then we're on the wrong trail. And so I think we need to maybe change our strategy and be more diligent in identifying where the problems are before we start going word by word through these old recommendations that in fact may not be an existing problem, and we might get a lot more done. And we really need to identify the problems with this charter, and if there's no problems, then our work's a lot easier.
Then what would you recommend as a outline or a direction to head in to achieve that?
Study the charter more, and whether we invite them here, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your councilman, talk to other councilmen, but some way we need to get input from both sides as to where and if there are any particular problems that are log jamming our local government, and we need to focus on those. And
then, from what I'm getting, and maybe, I guess I'm saying, please help me. Then we should reverse it by inviting our guests first.
no, I'm not saying that. We can identify the problems without having the guests come here.
Okay, then, well, how would you go about identifying a problem? I'm going to ask you, how would you know what the problem is in that charter? In other words, I'm asking you right now, what can you say is a problem with the charter?
No clear definition on the hiring and the firing, and what's the appeal mechanism. That does seem to be an issue. I think everybody's familiar with the turmoil that occurred through and I'll use this as an example. I think it's resolved now, thankfully, with the mental health board. There was a lot of disruption there about who's in charge, who could do this and who could do that. And I don't think that's an area that this commission can resolve. But in my observation of how my government is working for me is I see a lack of a real clear distinction in that regard between the legislative body and the executive branch. And that's something I think they have to resolve. Now, this item we're talking about on the department head issues may need some tweaking, but we spent a lot of time on the veto issue, and that's a fairly rare occurrence throughout the time we've had this home rule charter. I'm not saying there's been none, but there has not been a lot of presidential vetoes by any of the presidents that we've had. So whether it's a problem or not, I don't really see the veto powers of the president as a problem right now.
But then what if the parish president walks in and says there is a problem?
Then we'll hear his side of it.
So then, I guess what I'm saying is, and I keep getting no, then we need to bring in our political officials and question them as to where we need to work at and what we need to work on, rather than work on this first. I'm asking for help here. I'm begging for help, is what I'm saying. Mr. Porsche.
Mr. Chairman, if I understood it correctly, and I just asked the question, and I think I got it correct. When the O2 Commission did their study, the things that they came up with, it was not from recommendations from the parish president or from the council members. It was things that they thought that there was changes need to be done to the existing charter. In my opinion, our position would be to look, say, okay, this commission or this group found problems in this area, this area, this area, and this area. If we find that yeah, maybe there is a problem, then we can look at what they suggest to resolve it. We can either adopt that or make our own. We don't need to adopt exactly or word it exactly like they did. We can first, like Greg was saying, go through that thing and determine, yes, we find problems in every area. No, we don't find a problem in these 3 areas. We can dispense with those. We don't have to continue on with them. Just to move the process forward.
That was the point that I was trying to make. Through reading the 2002 recommendations, I don't see that many things that need addressing other than some verbiage. Some things need to be clarified a little more, and I don't see needing to spend a whole lot of time on this. My suggestion about your invitations going out was, what I intended to say was, why not send out a questionnaire to our elected officials, current and past, however you choose, and ask specific questions about when you were trying to get something done as a council person or as a parish president, what procedures halted moving forward? I'm not asking for their personal agenda or what they were trying to get passed. I'm asking them to identify what procedures blocked moving forward. From watching council meetings, attending council meetings for quite a few years, my biggest complaint has always been that the process is too slow. We need things done. And so I would just ask, my question would be to the elected officials, what do you see in the charter that may or may not need to be addressed to help move things forward more quickly? And there always seems to be debate. It's kind of funny to me that I'm sitting on this side of this now, because I'm usually on the other side going, why does this take so long? I mean, you know, we need to ask their opinions, not their political agendas, but their opinions about the process. That was what I was getting to in a questionnaire. And if you would mail that out, the ones that were interested could mail that back in with some brief comments, and we could look at that as a body and decide if any of them were worth us looking into. And that was my suggestion.
Does anybody have any objections of someone on this committee coming up with a list of questions?
Again, sir, I'm not saying questions. I'm asking there would be one question. During your term as an elected official, what about the home rule charter hindered you the most?
I think that's what I was going to get with Ms. Suzanne when I stated earlier that we would do that. In other words, give us your recommendations that hampered you in doing your job, and then let them answer that, and then we question them on that. From what I'm getting is that we need to go in the direction of maybe possibly not discussing these amendments at this particular time and get these questionnaires. I'm really asking this committee to give me a direction in which we as a committee want to go into. Mr. Porsche, please comment.
It's just a matter, Mr. Chairman, which one you want to do first. Whether or not you want to address this study first, whether you want to address the comments that the council or parish president may make, or you may want to address those that we see as the most important. It's just a matter of which ones you want to address first. I envision that we will address all of them. It's just what procedure you'd like to use to accomplish it.
I got it down here. Amendments for 2002, and then the guests, and then I got it here, Mr. Chair.
Just as a point of clarification, these recommendations came from the Public Affairs Research Council, highly respected. The 2002 recommendations were formulated with the help of the Chamber of Commerce and the Public Affairs Research Council. Under the direction of Mr. Art Teal Thiel, I apologize for not knowing his name, but I mean, this was a very respected organization that looks at charters, and they made those recommendations. It was my understanding that they had significant discussion with members of the council, with the parish president, with the Chamber of Commerce, and so I think they went through the same process that we are attempting to go through. And I don't think any of us at this point support or don't any of these recommendations. We're just looking at them.
That's it. That's strictly a discussion, and then we'll, hopefully you go home and even research 1 through 4 more, but also research all of them and come back, and once we finish with all of this, then we move on to our guests. And then once we finish with that, then we start putting our own thoughts together in relation to the information that we have obtained. Now, if there's any other direction that we want to obtain this information, please let me know at this point. I mean, if we're spending too much time on these recommendations, well, then let's get off of it. Let's move on to something else. Please let me know. Smart.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with the direction overall. I think my thing I keep looking at is this is a review, to review the charter. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with it or needs to be changed. But
exactly.
We got a lot of stuff to review. Some of that is some work somebody previously did in 2002 that it certainly bears looking at as we go down kind of that same road. But again, I think this review was called for a reason. So, I mean, let's listen to the people that do this on a day-to-day basis, along with looking at all the rest of this. And when it's all said and done, maybe we determine that nothing needs to be changed at this time, and maybe a lot needs to be changed. But I mean, we got a lot of it, and we have to do it all, I believe. And so, I mean, we got to listen to people. We got to come up with our own ideas, do our reading through it, and again, take into consideration the work that the task force did in 2002.
That's what I believe. I'm trying to.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I think we need to just forge forward with the outline as we proposed earlier. Continue on that path, and at some point, if we need to maybe omit some of it, back up, at that point we make that decision. I mean, because we could sit here all night discussing what path we want to take. Clearly, we decided earlier that we were going to take the path. We're going to look at the outline and follow that.
That's okay.
So,
then yes.
And
So
at some
then-
point, if we have to change it, we'll change it. But for
Okay,
now,
then. Thank you. I'm glad. Let's go forward with the outline that we have here next week. Being we didn't have a whole lot of discussion through 1 through 4, I believe it behooves us to go ahead and do the remainder of the recommendation 5 through 12 at the next meeting, and then we start doing our inviting of our guests, and then once we finish with all of that, then we take our own recommendations of what we want based on hearing other people and what was done before, and do that. So I will rewrite the outline. When it comes time to inviting other people, other guests, please, let's form a list so that we can give it to Miss Suzanne to send out invitations. But we'll go forward as we do now, because back in October, then we will actually start taking the information that we had in 2002 and the information we got. If you look at this thing in October the 1st, we'll start interviewing our present council, but then on December the 3rd, we'll start doing what everybody's wanting to do. Unless y'all feel like you want to take it and go with it now and start making the changes. I don't think that would be the wise idea. I think we need to keep going in the path we're going now, discussing it, but we're not discussing. I just find that we're not discussing them. We're holding back. Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chair.
Is it appropriate for us to go back to some discussion under presidential veto?
Ben, the item went through. I don't know, Ms. Mann. Can we go back to
Any member of the commission can place an item on the agenda for discussion or vote. And then, as long as you comply with whatever procedure that you all set forth in the last meeting and what's in the ordinance and open meetings law, that's fine.
so we can go back to any one of them and discuss it? I'd love to. I'd love to. Everybody, let's really just throw it out on the table. And once it's finished, again, like I'm saying, and I'll do like Mr. Porsche said, we may not even use it. We may not even want it.
I agree.
But let's discuss it, make your notes, and we'll move on. And then we'll get our present council and past council and guests, get their information, and then we'll start putting our own information that we feel, based on what they're telling us, we'll put it in play. Yes, ma'am.
Then I would like to go back to some discussion. There was public comment with regard to this becoming more wordy. And I would like for all of us to be able to realize that the reason this becomes more wordy is because of the detail in exactly how the procedure is done, that the secretary to the council must record, that et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of additional verbiage, but it is procedural. It spells that procedure out in great detail, and most of the charters that I've read spell out that procedure in great detail. Now, it does make it a tad more wordy, but if there is a procedural question, then it is answered here. Now, whether that the days thing, I don't have a great big issue with. If it was 5 or if it's 10, we'll come to some consensus. But I don't want to, for purposes of lack of wordiness, leave something where the details are missing, which is what will hamstring Harry every time, because we make it or break it sometimes on the details. And in this case, I think the details are somewhat necessary to outline the exact procedure of how a veto is done. Can't leave anything open to question.
Anybody else?
I support her comments. Whether the days are the right number of days, I think for something as crucial as a presidential veto, that's a pretty short procedure, and I think it is lacking in some details. But either system will work. Not saying we need to come to a final consensus on this, but just in response to Terry's comments, at this point, I would be supportive of making these, to some degree, changes to the presidential veto. That's all I wanted to comment on that.
Chairman, I don't have any problem if it takes 4 pages to word it. I just have a problem with the particular way they're saying it, because it extends the time frame. That's the only problem I have with it. They can use 5 pages to make it word. That's not a subject matter to me at all.
Okay.
It's just a matter of what they're proposing expands the time frame between the actual veto and the whole process, and that can be problematic in itself.
Well, then I suggest we take this information, take your idea of what it may need to be, every one of us, not just Mr. Porsche, all of us, and take our ideas, put it together, and then when they come forward, we find out what their ideas, and then we go ahead and work on the commission itself. We go ahead, the commission start working on the charter itself and everything, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we adopt it the way it's wrote or anything like that. I think we just need to discuss it and move on, and then when it comes time to making the changes, if there's any change to be made, then we go ahead and fix it and to where the wording is to be put. I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
just as a question, what would be the problem with us going through these subject matters, dispensing with those that we choose not to work on at a later date? If we only go through them and discuss them now, and we're going to be reworking the exact same situation at a later date, I see no point in us doing that when we can either dispense with it, each one as we go, not necessarily say vote on it, that's the way it's going to be final, but no, this is a bad idea, let's don't do that, we can dispense with that one. Yes, this is a good idea. We need to work with the attorney to get it worded in its correct, proper manner that we think it should be done. I'm concerned that down the road, we're building up a big pile, a big mountain we got to climb unnecessarily.
Comment, sir?
So you're saying, in other words, we take the charter itself and go through it?
Whatever we discuss. We
Okay.
discussed 4 things tonight.
Well,
And I understand we went through them very quickly, but we could have made a decision.
I have no problem with that. I don't think we can vote on it as to whether or not it become, but I mean, I have no problem with that, sir. I mean, if y'all want to throw it out, I mean, if you want to throw it out or keep it as a, and I'm here. I'm whatever y'all want as a consensus of the board is to say, well, okay, the veto power is like it is when we get ready to get in the section of the charter itself. When we get to the veto power, we've pretty much say, well, okay, then we vote on it and move on. We don't discuss it anymore. We just make the motion to either accept it like it is, change it the way we want it, change it the way it was wrote in 2002, and move on, because we've already discussed it. We will not do it again. Yes, ma'am.
I so agree with what he's saying tonight. Here we are, amendment number 1. I think we need a list. Let's make a checklist now. Amendment number 1, we have discussed it tonight. Okay, whether everybody is in agreement or not, we haven't decided that yet, but I think that I'm speaking to what Mr. Poche is saying. I don't, and Mr. Duplessis, I don't have a problem with the verbiage being added to this. I think it needs to be cleaned up. I think it cleans it up very well. But I have a problem with the days, the amount of days. So can we get a running list going and have some consensus amongst us that amendment number 1, we're in agreement with verbiage, but not time
Ma'am,
frame?
that's what
and then
I...
let's check that off and
that's-
move to amendment number 2.
That's what
and
I got.
say, do I like this amendment? Everybody's in agreement? Yes, we don't need to discuss this anymore.
Ma'am, that's what I got it on here for. I'm leaving it open for y'all. If the consensus of this board that we don't need to do nothing with amendment number 1, then let's move on. Let's just write it down, and then when we get ready to start making our motions and voting, who's to say that one of the parish president walk in and he got a new idea, then we want to put a new idea into the vote? I have no problem with that. I don't think anybody here has a problem with that. Let's just go ahead and do it.
That was back to my question earlier about the ordinance for our commission here. In our ordinance, it states how the form of recommendations and the presentation of the report of recommendations are to be handled. It does not clarify, though, during our meetings, is the secretary going to be responsible for making this checklist for us? That's what I was trying to ask earlier. And who is going to keep the book? And how is that all going to come together? Because I believe tonight, I appreciate all of the discussion that we've had, but I don't feel like we've resolved a thing. And that is my thing, what I said earlier about the council and the parish president. Everyone is tired of everything taking so long to resolve. So I'm asking, can we please put together a checklist tonight? And amendment number 1, are we all in favor of the change or not? And then let's move on to the next one.
Ms. Mann, can we actually do that, make a checklist, and then not vote on it, but I don't know how you'd say it would actually be a vote, but I don't think we can do it tonight, but I mean, can we do that? Legally, can we do that, discuss it, and then get a consensus of the board and say yes?
Well, I think you'll want to discuss it, and then in the minutes, Suzanne will, take note of everyone's opinion, and then we can...
I mean, I think we're doing what everybody's saying we want to do. I think we're doing it right now. I mean, am I not? Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
And it will be captured in the minutes, and then we've got the video record of it, so we will always be able to go back and
so we're doing it right now. Okay, I will do this. You and I had a discussion about this earlier in relation to your duties, what she's asking in the ordinance in relation to the responsibility of the parish furnishing someone. You and I had that discussion, if you remember, who would draft it up and in its legal form or whatever we come up with. I would ask you, please sit down with Mr. Martinez and Mr. Bell and see if that was the intent, being it's not specifically spelled out in the ordinance, and see if that was the intent, that once we obtain all our information and then we start making our changes to the articles, who is going to actually put it together paper-wise, represent. I thought so too. I thought we discussed that.
She's going to do the legal.
I thought so too, but it's coming up now, and I appreciate it. I appreciate her asking, but it's coming up again, and I just want to reassure. I thought it did too, but
We discussed that at our last meeting. And of course, because it has to be done in legal speak, the attorney's going to draw up our conclusions so that we don't have something that is not improper.
Well, I apologize to you, sir. You should have stopped me before I started talking.
okay.
You need to have your say also.
Thank you very much.
That's it. Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.